our space program isn't going to stop. Human beings are naturally inquisitive. We want to find out as much as we can about our world and our universe. And that involves exploration. And space business is risky business. There's always a chance of something going wrong.
I'm Terry Cook. Oklahoma women are becoming a group to be reckoned with in politics these days. They represent more than just a vote. They are beginning to organize a financial base behind themselves. Case in point is this luncheon held today for Cleta Deathridge. She's running for state lieutenant governor. Women organized the campaign, selling tickets at $100 apiece, raising $25,000 at this luncheon alone.
We had one room almost totally involved with flames. We extinguished that quickly, but the problem was that the fire got into the void space between the second and third floor and ran from us. We had to take up a large amount of the second and third floor in order to stop it to save imminent structure collapse.
Oklahoma City leaders will be armed with 6,000 job surveys when they make their pitch to Boeing in Wichita tomorrow. The aircraft manufacturer claimed a work survey indicated labor was too expensive in Oklahoma City. In an effort to refute that research and convince Boeing to build a maintenance plant here, the Chamber of Commerce conducted its own survey. Nearly 6,000 Oklahomans responded. All said they would work for $6 to $7 an hour, the wage Boeing would like to pay. Kurt Autry, News 4, Nightcast.
$500 where to get $70,500 here to get 500. Hey, $71,000.
These are not the best of times for agriculture in Oklahoma or elsewhere. Land values are dropping, farms are being sold, crop prices below the break-even mark in most cases. Farmers remaining in business defining salt of the earth as a bitter harvest. And whether justified or not, many view the administration as the enemy. And what about energy? The oil patch dried up with the collapse of Penn Square Bank. The ripple effect became the feared tidal wave, affecting virtually every segment of Oklahoma's economy and all of her citizens. The White House has taken a lot of heat for a lack of action to help domestic energy producers. Does a big-name administration visit carry the same clout, given the state of Oklahoma's economy? There are those who say no.
Not to the extent that it would have been a few years ago, before some of the problems with agriculture and the petroleum industry became controversial in Oklahoma and as it's related to the presidency.
Former State Attorney General Larry Derryberry. He was a Democratic gubernatorial contender back in the 70s. And Channel 4's political analyst sees another damper on a coattail effect this time.
I think Henry Bellman has an individualized perception in Oklahoma, a separate identity. And he's either appreciated or not appreciated for what he has done rather than what's happening at the national scene in Washington today.
There was no pomp and circumstance to greet the vice president when he arrived at the airport. Only a few party members, including the one responsible for this latest visit, gubernatorial candidate Henry Bellman. But the feeling of camaraderie was disrupted. At the location of the fundraiser, a line of citizens had formed outside the building, carrying signs with messages directed to the gubernatorial candidate. But their protest did little to spoil the evening.
And we know also we're going to win. But your help will make that victory possible.
Then the main event. Vice President Bush took the podium, and after a few cordial words, he went straight to the most painful issue facing oil-producing states.
I recognize the value of lower oil prices to the consumer, to the overall economy, to the dampening of inflation, but I also know something else. And yes, I caught a little hell for saying it, and I'm going to say it again right here. And no American should or can afford to forget it. A strong domestic oil and gas industry is absolutely vital to the national security interests of the United States of America.
The fundraiser was a success in two ways. It left Bellman with more than $100,000 for his campaign, and it left fellow Republicans with a new sense of pride in their party. Uzi Brown, News 4, Nightcast.
Communities and continue to educate, stay in office forever.
Not saying that all employers are like that for this thing and getting it in. We're talking about developing the infrastructure of your municipalities, the roads, the sewer systems, housing, and jobs. And I think that most of the mayors that are here, they all share the same uniqueness. One has water problems, one has housing problems, and together we may be able to come up with a solution.
He's just going to be here for a few seconds. We're going to all meet in the hospitality suite, the mayors and council people.
"95% of the state's hard red winter wheat is out of the ground and into storage, and the figures show a dramatic decline from recent years. The quality is good, but the price isn't. 145.6 million bushels of wheat, grown off of 5.2 million acres. And there's the major difference. 1.2 million acres less was planted with wheat this year, and the harvest is the smallest since 1974.
We're incorporating a herbicide for weed control on the mallow.
How much you want to put on?
Robert Manuel of Jones has been farming most of his 57 years. He's the third generation of his family to do so. But like most farmers, he's seen a dwindling return caused by high interest rates, dropping land values, and most recently, an onslaught by Mother Nature. In recent years, Jones might have planted 100 or 200 acres of wheat, but last year, none.
Reason was that I had too excessive rainfall in the fall, and I just couldn't get it in until in December, and I just don't like to plant wheat that late.
How about your neighbors? Are they planting less and less wheat?
Yes, they're down, I'd say at least 40 to 50% to what they was 4 or 5 years ago, at least 3 years.
But Manuel and other farmers in this part of central Oklahoma enjoy luxuries not everyone in the so-called wheat belt have. A soil and climate capable of diversification. The soil that used to grow the waving wheat now produces feed grain, corn, peanuts, alfalfa, and oats. a trend that climate and uncontrollable economic pressures may continue. George Tomic, News 4, near Jones.
About 96,500,000 the ad valorem taxes we are only collecting. Doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean anything.
But here we're dealing with not only, language barrier, but a cultural barrier also, and customs, and we need to understand that and help that, and it's not just with the Hispanics, but our Vietnamese, our Laotian. We have to be aware of what's happening with people, and we must be people-oriented.
We're talking about is going to accomplish that. So Jim, why don't you come forward and tell them what we're meeting about.
Thank you very much, Lee Allen. I appreciate Oklahoma City is in fact an aviation city. We have Tinker Field here. We have Gulfstream. We have a lot of people that are experienced in the aircraft industry. So I think that's a plus on our side.
I'm Storm Smith. Edmond residents are about to face their annual summer water shortage, so city officials are asking for a voluntary conservation system. Residents with even-numbered addresses water on even days, odd addresses on odd days. Officials hope there won't be a need for mandatory rationing as in past years.
This is the Vo family. They're from Vietnam. About 7 years ago, Mr. Vo made his escape from the communists, and together with his wife, he managed to bring his family to the United States. They're here for a chance for a free life. Mr. Vo wants his family to be raised as Americans.
Everybody said that she's the coolest teacher in the school. Just tell jokes about you and stuff like that.
The Vos are having their last meal as official Vietnamese citizens. This is the eve of a very special time in their lives. They're about to pledge their allegiance to this country. Their reasons are simple.
I do love Americans, so that's why I'm here. Because America is the top freedom, the country of the free. That's what we're looking for, and we'll make it. Be proud to be American tomorrow.
I will support and defend the Constitution.
This morning, along with representatives of 49 other countries, the Vos traveled to the federal courthouse in downtown Oklahoma City. Here, they were to finalize their citizenship. They first took an oath, and then to make it all official, the Vo family pledged their allegiance to the country adopting them.
One nation, under God, indivisible, and liberty, just for all.
Then it was over. The Vos and the rest of the people taking the pledge became Americans. What's it like to all of a sudden know you belong to this nation? Some of us who were born here may at times take it all for granted. But for these people, the feeling is real.
It's our big day today. I never forget it.
I feel so happy and get the honor to be the citizen of the United States. I have the right to vote.
I'm just happy because I'm American now. That's it. I feel very happy. Feel different too. Yeah, I feel different. When I go to school, if people said I'm Chinese, Japanese, I said I'm sorry, I'm not Chinese, Japanese, I'm just American.
Sitting on the dock of the bay. That's all hopeful sailors have been able to do this holiday weekend. High winds are grounding many of the seafarers, and that's just fine with the rangers, who have to patrol this lake.
The wind has been blowing quite a bit, so we haven't had as much boat traffic as we normally would. We've had high wind warnings, and it's kept some of the boaters at home, or else they've been leaving their boats at home.
And that means good news, because a decline in the water traffic means a decline in the number of water-related accidents. With water activities limited, the crowds naturally turned inland to make the best of their holiday weekend. But should the good times turn into troubled times, law enforcers are well prepared.
People do come out here and they try to let their hair down a little bit. Like I say, we stay on top of them. We try not to let them get too rowdy or out of hand. But as far as having any major problems, we don't have any major problems out here.
But all in all, officials say it's been an unusually peaceful 4th of July weekend, and they're hoping that holds true on tomorrow, which is the last official day of the Liberty Celebration weekend. Uzi Brown, News 4, Nightcast.
We've made no attempt to extinguish the fire because it's in a safer condition right now with the flames burning than it is when we try to shut it down. As a matter of fact, we'll have a dangerous condition that will exist as we start trying to shut the line down, because as the pressure drops in the line, the fire can back up into the line and run down the line. So we've still got a dangerous situation that's going to exist until we can bring this under control.
Apartment complex.
7604.
They are confident that at one time there was somebody there. That's evident from the officers who first arrived at the scene and indicated that they were shot at. There's no problem there. It's just that we don't know when, and the two officers, again, that first arrived at the scene said they didn't see anyone exit the house. So we're, at this point, a little bit confused as to how the subject got out of the house.
It's very important that should Boeing be successful in getting this bid, that the highways in and around the Boeing site would be adequate to address the needs, and I strongly recommend, so that we can include a part of the package, your action today in the package that will be presented tomorrow.
The governor and the two city leaders returned from Wichita today with broad grins. Nigh Councilman Jim Scott and a representative of the Chamber of Commerce hand-delivered the city's best and final proposal to Boeing this morning. According to the governor, the smiles were warranted. He claims Oklahoma City has a trump card.
If we have a trump card, in my opinion, it's the history of Oklahoma, that we can produce VOTEC, we can produce trained people, and we do honor our commitments.
Jacksonville, Lake Charles, and Oklahoma City all want a maintenance center that would service these Boeing KC-135s. The plan is contingent on the aircraft company landing a major defense contract. Like Nigh, Councilman Scott is confident, but so far there has been no indication from Boeing which city is the front runner.
They've answered any question that we've asked them. They've tried to provide us with all of the information that we needed in making our proposal, but they have not given us any indication as to whether we're in first place, second place, or third place.
It appears city and state leaders will have to be on pins and needles for at least another 7 days. Boeing executives don't expect a decision until next week. Kurt Autry, News 4.
As a probably, I just guess I'd have to pull. There were a large group of lawyers here in the office who were down the hall chatting, and they kind of kidnapped me and said that someone needs to run against Bob Macy, that he hasn't treated the citizens of Oklahoma City right. He's unopposed at this time, and they need somebody who's not afraid to get in there and fight with him. I promise you, I'm not afraid to.
But, so when did you hear the news? What time about was it? It was about 5:30 last night?
Had planned all along that if I drew an opponent.
We had absolutely no idea that Gassaway was going to file for district attorney. The case was filed in April. It has gone through preliminary hearing. We've reviewed the case law, the statutes, the canons of ethics, and we're of the opinion that there's no reason why we should not continue to prosecute the case.
Mary Hill suddenly stopped breathing 2.5 weeks ago in her Mabel Bassett prison cell. Fellow inmates claim corrections officers refused to seek medical treatment for the sick prisoner. A News 4 investigation uncovered a prison log with the entry, "Do not bother with Mary Hill anymore this morning. She is faking her seizures." An hour later, she was dead. A state medical examiner's report released today concludes that Mary Hill died of walking pneumonia, which could have come on suddenly. The autopsy report found no evidence to substantiate fellow prisoners' allegations that Hill had been mistreated before her death. The investigation into the death of Mary Hill does not end here at the Chief Medical Examiner's office. The Oklahoma Department of Corrections and the Oklahoma Foundation for Peer Review are both conducting independent investigations into the medical practices at the Mabel Bassett Prison. Scott Wallace, News 4, Northeast Oklahoma City.
I'm Donna Gregory. City fire officials spent the evening fighting a smoky grass fire on the city's northeast side. They say the fire apparently started when someone discarded smoking materials near the intersection of I-35 and Northeast 10th Street. No one was hurt in the blaze, but the hazardous materials unit was called out to check some drums. Nothing dangerous.
OG&E can build large generation stations and take the power to the customer, or we can install the peaks devices at the customer's residence and avoid building a generation station by avoiding their air conditioning load during our peak time.
Protest that we're filing is a protest to make sure of the sufficiency of the signatures, as well as a protest to some facets of the law that we see as unconstitutional and contrary to statute.
They know what time constraints we're under. We've made no bones about that from the very beginning. We have until September 5th to get this matter on the election by placing it before the Secretary of the Election Board. And they hope that by delaying us through the court process, that the voters will not have the opportunity to vote on it. And I think that's wrong, and I think it's unfair.
It's a $50 million appropriation legislation. It's here $50 million for education. And education decides how to spend the $50 million. I know the legislature.
No, they will go into the appropriate funds, and that money will be spent by the legislature, will be allocated by the legislature. And they will do that based on revenue.
I'm Terry Cook. The push is on to stop the advertising of tobacco products. Oklahoma Congressman Mike Sinar is one of many fighting to ban the ads. A House subcommittee is now listening to arguments claiming the ads are a health hazard to all Americans, especially the young.
It's a routine that Edmond residents have come to expect as a part of summer. Mandatory water rationing. Earlier this month, residents were asked to voluntarily cut back on outdoor usage, hopefully as a way of avoiding a mandatory rationing. But after the water pressure dipped to near zero in some tanks this weekend, officials knew